All right. I'm here with our tiebreaker, Saul Klein. Hey, Saul.
How you doing, Jennifer?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's Friday, huh?
Yeah. Well, this will air on Monday, but
Yeah.
that's okay. We're recording it Friday. But if people don't know, you have been in real estate for over 40 years, and we do a Better Call Saul video about every couple of weeks where we talk about issues. And you said you also have your broker's license too, right?
Yeah, I got my sales license in 1975, and my broker's license in 1977. And I started
Yay.
teaching real estate classes because I found that was a great way to recruit. And
Yeah.
so I started teaching real estate classes for the largest private real estate school in California at the time. It was called Anthony Schools, and I taught at all the campuses. And so all the students coming through, this was to take the exam.
Yeah.
Because there was no continuing education credit. As a matter of fact, there wasn't even a requirement to take any course, but they'd take people's course to be able to. So I debated and so I had the opportunity to teach and write classes before there was continuing education requirements and after. And my partner and I, John Riley, have talked about this for years, and we know it's true. When we got the contract for NAR to create a online certification program, ePro, the NAR made us get it approved. It made us get it approved in as many states as possible. Why? Because that'll make it more successful. More realtors would sign up for it if we gave them this extra thing. And so often what happens because of continuing education is people take the course not for the content,
right,
but for the course credit. So I would say continuing education is a waste of time. If the course content is good enough, then people will take it without continuing education credit. Now, I'll give you an example. Before there was continuing education credit, there was a major California Supreme Court decision that allowed assumability of loans.
Okay.
So people could jump, and the interest rates are escalating, right? So people wanted to jump in and take over loans, but all the banks said you can't. And there was this major case in California. The attorney that won that case for Cynthia Wellenkamp, it was Wellenkamp versus the Bank of America. He went out and did seminars, and I went 1,000 people in a room paying, which was big money at the time, $79 a piece to take a class, no CE, but because you wanted the information that he was going to bring.
Right.
What he was going to say is the banks will tell you have the loan taken over. So just looking at CE credit, if the objective is to increase people's capability as somebody who sells real estate, I would say no. It's a waste of time.
What do you think is, so your team, Martland, yay. What do you think is a better way to go about it? Because the intention, I imagine that the intention of the continuing education was to increase knowledge, right?
Yeah, you would look to, who lobbied for it? I know that the educational institutions where I was teaching, they were real happy to see this, and so were instructors, because things we thought were important, because things like agency and ethics, they made those mandatory, right? Now, that's okay. People need to be refreshed on those types of things.
But assuming that they're paying attention.
Well, yeah, well, so that's a whole nother issue. You get into the state
Okay.
That kind of requirement, that makes sense, but just a requirement to get some number of courses,
right,
in some very broad areas, consumer protection, consumer service, whatever.
Right.
What is that?
What's the point?
What's the point, right? And I can tell you, as an instructor, that and who many classes over many years, it actually kind of irks you that that's the first thing that people ask.
Right.
Is, do you get continuing education credit?
Yeah.
Because somebody should be, in the real estate industry, it's really not regulated the way other industries are. And so it needs to be regulated by the consumer, really.
Yeah.
Now, we know the real estate laws are kind of set up to protect consumers, but throwing continuing education on it, maybe there are better ways
Right.
to protect the consumer against.
What do you think are better ways? Have you and John like talked about that? Or maybe we should talk about that on a Better Call Saul episode.
That would be an interesting thing to talk about, because there are better ways to do it than mandatory, broad-based course selection.
Exactly, because it teaches to a basic level of understanding of the topic when you have how many number of agents that are looking to get something out of the class. But if you talk down to them, they're just they already know that stuff and they're just not even gonna listen.
Yeah, and if you wanted to require people to put hours or time in, you could just as a state, you could approve 4 credits, all of the state colleges and university courses or whatever, because if people select those courses, they're doing it because they want to take those courses.
Right.
And they're helping them in their life, or they wouldn't take the time to do that. And their business is part of their life.
Right.
But something as simple as taking course time that, from other institutions.
Or or we've talked about like having, if you sold so many deals, that would be a credit.
Well, you could have that kind of production requirement. Now that kind of makes it like a securities license.
Okay.
Right? So I had securities licenses. I was at general, I had the principal's license, which is like the broker license. And I had a series 7, that's a 24. I had a series 7, which is a general securities license.
I feel like you've done everything. How many lives have you lived, Saul?
Yeah, well, when you're a real estate broker for 40 years, you'll find time to fit a lot of things in, right? From one economic turn to another, from one twist in the industry to the other. So part of my business was to deliver full service, which meant real estate, taxes. Right. So I got those securities licenses, and the way that it worked is I got the 7. I had to hang it under a broker, kind of like
right.
And then you had to keep a level of production up. And then I became a broker, so I could have my own branch office, which is my real estate office. But when I started training people and traveling across the country in my production, I didn't have production anymore.
Right.
I had to give up my securities licenses.
Yeah, we don't have, oh my gosh, everybody needs to watch out for our Better Call Saul episode. We're totally talking about this. Well, this is a good one. We do it with Rachel Reel. But for now, I think the important thing is that you and I are in agreement.
Yeah, we are.
CE is a waste of time. Hardly anybody ever agrees with me, Saul. So I'm very excited about this. And can you tell us what's the best way to get a hold of you, and also tell us a little bit about the Data Advocate before we let you go?
Yeah, you can email me at saul@bettercallsaul.realtor, or you can go to the Data Advocate. It is up. It's not where we want it to be. We're still shaping this thing. But if you want to look at some of the things we've done before and some of the things we've written about and some of the things that we think might happen, thedataadvocate.com, thedataadvocate.com. And you can follow us there, and on LinkedIn and Facebook, all over
everywhere.
The place.
You're everywhere. I love it. All right. Well, I really appreciate you being on. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, always.
Have a good one.
Take care.